Not one member of this group was going to let the torrential rain stop them from standing up against Russia's war on Ukraine. Amongst the crowd of Ukrainian Australians and their children were Russian Australians and those who were born here, who showed their hatred of the invasion. Natalia Murad captured the attention of the crowd with her address.
I encourage you to talk to each other, to support each other, to establish links between yourselves, because there are families in Ukraine. My family is in Ukraine. I don't need refugee now. And I know that many of you have families there, and you are scared for their well-being. And they are innocent people, and there are innocent children. My mom is 87 years old. She can't leave the home. I can't bring her here. She can't escape. How many of you have families like this? And now I encourage you, sorry for that. I encourage you to come here and say whatever you want, whatever you wish, because there is no chain of command here. This is a gathering of people who feel strongly enough to come and show their support. So, yes, who would like to say something? Please come here. I just came because I wanted to come, because I wanted to connect, because I wanted to see people who care about others, not because of their riches, but because they stand for their right, because tomorrow it could be Australia. Just think about that. Australia is a country far away from everybody else, but now planes fly far, and we have very mighty neighbor on other shores. And if we do nothing today, there is a saying. One day they came and took my neighbor. Then next day they came and took another neighbor. And then they came for me. And there was no one to stand for. So if we don't stand for each other, they will come for us. They will come for us, and they will come for Australia. I'm not saying it will happen tomorrow, 1 year time, but if the world order is like that, the might is right, and the one who has biggest army can enslave other people only because they dare to think different. Well, there is no hope for anybody.
Then Silvana Yaros joined Natalia.
Russian people here and all Russian people around the world. I was watching the movie and TV all last night and all this morning, looking for the footage, and there is hope. There are lots of Russian people getting up and getting out on the street, and they say no to this war. Because so many people understand that Russia will be responsible for all of this mess, which is going to start from today, from yesterday. And I'm very hope there is lots of good, educated people in Russia who understands. Yes, they're scared. Putin scared everybody. They will be in jail. But I also saw one post of one man, and he said, my grandkids were asking me once, where have you been, my granddad, when everything was going on? And he said, I would rather answer, I was in jail, rather I was on a sofa in my lounge. So please, Russian people, if you have a bit of common sense, Ukrainian people never wanted anybody to die. They never want you to die. They would just think slightly different. And what's wrong with that? We are thinking differently. We're not cleaning maybe our house same as our neighbor does. But this does not mean we are bad or we're doing something wrong. What's happening if you don't like something on your neighbors? This does not give you any rights to come in and get whatever you want. And it's not right. The old world become changed since the Putin declared he's doing military demilitarization and denationalization. Oh my goodness, my tongue. This is not right. We are not Nazis.
Well, our president is a Jew, for God's sake. Yes. What kind of Nazis we can be if our president is a Jew and no one is saying anything about that?
It's not. We have lots of we have Crimean Tatars who are in there. Oh yes.
Tenzin Dorang, who lived under China's control of Tibet, also spoken.
I am a Tibetan. I have lost my country to China, and I know how difficult it is to be living away from your parents, to be living away from your families. My mother is of her age. We have never been together in the last 3 decades, and it is very difficult, and I know how difficult it is for you. So as a Tibetan Australian, I'm fully in support of Ukraine, and I suggest Russia to stay away from Ukraine.
Because I believe that other people who are in the similar situations, like that Tibetan guy who spoke so beautifully, are here. And we are here to support each other. And we are here to say, you can't get us easily. Really, we can't do much. You know, women and men who are stuck in, not stuck in Australia. We are grateful to be in Australia. But from here, we cannot do much. We can't go and fight. But we can ask for the attention of Australian public, that they understand what's happening in Ukraine and what it means for Australia as well, because Ukraine is only the beginning and there will be other countries, and if you give in to bully once, he will come for more. So blackmail is never ending.
You're very distressed about your mother, aren't you?
I am very distressed about my mother. She's 87 years old, she's crippled, she can't walk, so she's stuck. And my sister is with her, and I'm very grateful to my sister that she stays with my mom. And sister's grandkids and kids are there. And now I just heard that there were sirens in my city of Lviv, which is 80 kilometers from Polish border and was considered to be the safest place to be in Ukraine. Obviously not that safe.
See, everyone thank you so much for coming today. Such short notice. We started talking only yesterday about what happened, and we managed to talk to so many people in the poor Ukraine. So we are strong together, and thank you guys for joining.
Father of 3, Boris Dorothy, migrated to Australia from Russia 4.5 years ago.
I believe that not all Russians support a suicidal mission of Putin in Ukraine, and I believe that, and I know for sure that lots of Russians like me support Ukraine. Till the invasion, I was hoping that he's just trying to show Russian power and power of Russian weapon and try to intimidate Western countries somehow. But unfortunately, I was mistaken, and yeah.
Do you think he has any justification at all?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
What would you like to say to Queenslanders?
I would like to say please support Ukraine, and please share all possible social media your support, and that's the best way to help people of Ukraine now.
How concerned is your wife about the situation?
She's got the same level of concern as me, and because she got relatives in Russia and in Ukraine, and this is absolutely terrible time for us, for my family and for her family as well.
Have you heard, or has your wife heard anything today from family members in Ukraine?
No, not yet. Unfortunately, we didn't hear anything, and we are deeply concerned about that as well.
Do you believe the Australian government has done the right thing by imposing sanctions on Russia?
Yes, I believe it's totally the right thing to do. Yep.
Mother of 2, Elena Krugliakova, left Russia in 2005 and lived in Europe before coming here in 2015.
I stand with Ukraine. I disagree. I was absolutely in shock and disbelief when I saw the news yesterday. I think Russia is making a huge mistake. So I don't support war in general. I don't support violence, and I think there should be always a way to solve a problem without bloodshed.
Do you think there was any justification at all
No.
for Putin doing what he's done?
No, absolutely not.
Do you think that Australia has done the right thing by imposing the sanctions that it's done?
I do think it is important for the West to react. It is important. I'm not sure that the sanction, and I share that opinion with others, that the sanctions would be enough to stop Putin. I don't think at this stage anything would stop Putin, unfortunately.
Do you fear that we're heading closer to possibly World War III?
I don't want to think about it, but looking how it turns, hopefully not, but talks are there.
Are you concerned about family members in Russia, or indeed
I do.
anyone you know in Ukraine?
Of course, because any war will bring deaths on both sides of the border. So obviously Russian will lose lives as well as Ukrainians. But I think the shift of power is unfortunately not in favor of Ukrainians. I think it's absolutely a disgrace.
And this is what law and psychology university student Yasmin Lewis feels about the war.
Well, I think it's our civic duty as Australians to show support for countries that we have alliances to, and everything that Putin is doing in the Ukraine and across the world is just tyrannical. I feel like every Australian has a duty to stand up to the Ukrainian community here and all of the Europeans that might be affected by this. So I think it's important to show support, and I think it's important to get Scott Morrison listening. We need more than just statements saying that he's condemning Russia. We need a guarantee that if NATO puts troops on that soil, that Australians will be there with him, upholding the alliances that we've had for decades. The rest of the world is watching how Australia reacts, is going to set the stage for future negotiations going forward. China's looking at invading Taiwan and has for decades. We know what that situation is, and if Australia is complacent, then China might start to make moves on Taiwan, and then that becomes a real national security issue. So I think every Australian should be deeply, deeply concerned about what's going on over there.
Are your friends concerned as you are?
I think so. Some of them I feel don't understand the situation fully, and maybe that's because Australia hasn't got as much education around the international community, but I think the people with half a brain would know what's going on is wrong, and that we need to stand up for it.
I think the sanctions are going to be enough to stop Putin.
I hope so. There's not much else that the United Nations can do except impose sanctions and maybe send in peacekeeping in NATO, but once we start putting troops on the ground, that's when we start looking at things like nuclear warfare, and there won't be a World War III. It would be the end of the world. People talking about this war that's going to happen across the world, it just won't happen. And all it takes is somebody to be a little bit trigger happy. So I urge President Putin, and I urge all of the Russians that support him to come to the peacekeeping table, because your country will suffer. Your citizens will die. We know what happened to the USSR. We know what happened to countries that had communism and were poverty-stricken. This will directly impact your people, and for what? For his name in the history book, so that he can be looked down as a tyrant. It won't be favourable. It won't be favourable.
Next Sunday at midday, there'll be another protest in King George Square, and it's not likely to be the last one.